Hello, my name is Kat Day, and welcome to It's Lit, the favorite literature show for women, by women, about women. Today with a very special guest, Nobel Prize winner historian Ellen Whitaker. Tell us what you have today, Ellen.
Thank you, Kat. Well, today I have brought with me Miss Harriet Webster Stowe. She wrote The Croquette and...
Harriet Beecher Stowe, you say? That's amazing. However did you get her here?
Well, I actually created the time machine.
Right, like the movies. So, Miss Stowe, tell us about yourself.
Well, first of all, Catherine, is it? My name is Hannah Webster Foster, and I wrote The Coquette. I believe your partner was mistaken, or she kidnapped the wrong person. Secondly, I am not poor.
Okay, sorry, my mistake. I guess that's one of the side effects on my time machine that I didn't really pay attention to.
Science clearly failed you then. I guess.
Hold on. No need to be hostile. She just made a mistake. We're a woman here, so tell us about yourself.
Right. Please excuse my rudeness. I was just stating that science clearly is not her friend. But anyways, I was born in Salisbury, Massachusetts. It's still Massachusetts, right?
Yes.
1758. Boarding school after that, and that was 1762, I believe. And then, after boarding school, I moved to Boston, Massachusetts, and wrote for local newspapers. And love came my way because of my writing, so I kept it up, naturally. Anyways, in 1797, after experiencing the miracle of childbirth twice, the wonders of marriage, too, of course, I was inspired by a story and creatively wrote The Coquette.
She also manages to pop out 4 more children, and then she sadly dies in 1840 in Montreal, Canada. But she does outlive her husband by 11 years. He died in 1829 when his health started to decline.
I'm sorry. What?
So, that's all the time we have for right now. We'll be right back after this message from our sponsors. Enjoy this commercial.
Now, hold on a minute. What is the commercial?
Today's taping of It's Lit is brought to you by WomenHistoryBlog.com, the site for all of your womanly history needs.
And we're back. So, Hannah, I can call you Hannah, right? Of course I can. Hannah, I hear your novel, The Concubine, is really something. I read it. It was good. They teach it actually in schools today as part of mandatory curriculum. Did you know that?
Ignorant slave entertainer, it's The Coquette. And no, I did not know the schools would teach my kind of literature. See, in my time, my novel was a bit of a scandal, and I don't think, well, it would be strange for schools to be teaching something like that.
Well, a lot has changed since your time, especially slavery. We're not slaves.
So, you are free women. You aren't just entertaining people.
Entertaining is my job. I get paid for it. Entertaining is kind of a profession nowadays.
Oh. Go girls, then.
Right. Well, enough about me. Tell us about your story, the sad life of a single mother. No one should be called a hoe for just, doing that thing that a lot of us ignorant children do in their good.
Actually, her novel is about...
Do they teach etiquette in your time? I believe she was speaking to me. Clearly you haven't read my novel. It is about a deceived, seduced woman, betrayed by the man she loved to meet an old friend, death. It is a great scandal, to say the least, that a man with his background would do such a thing.
Right. Well, see, I did read your novel, and I got a different interpretation. It seemed more like there was a young woman who had the opportunity of having 2 suitors, One prestigious and a good man. One was a major in the military and was a little bit of a bad boy. And she couldn't make a decision between the two. One was fun, one was kind of dull. So she waited too long, and the good man got married. She wrote to him, but he was obviously not going to leave his wife because he's a good guy. The other one also got married, and after losing both her suitors, she fell into a deep depression. Then I believe the bad one started to interact with her more. She started to take the bait. Every woman in her family told her it's a bad idea, but she did it anyway, got pregnant, needed to be hid away, then had a secret birth to a stillborn child, and was a martyr for everything a woman shouldn't do. Is that about it?
Miss Foster, what she's trying to say is we know the story is about Elizabeth Whitman and Pierpont Edwards.
Hush your mouth. Is there no such thing as a secret that everyone knows in this time period? It's only scandalous if the gossip is questionable, not factual. I used fake names for a purpose, Miss Ellen. Obviously, you're not a writer.
Actually,
And we're out of time. We're back again with our guest after a super special message from our sponsors.
We here at Islet would like to thank GradeSaver, the best place to find all your grade-saving quotes.
So we left off on Hannah telling us about her book. Would you mind sharing with us a few of your favorite quotes? I'm dying to know where your head was when you wrote this.
Of course, I'd love to. Marriage is the tomb of friendship. It appears to me a very selfish state. Why do people, in general, as soon as they are married, center all their cares, their concerns, and pleasures in their own families? Former acquaintances are neglected or forgotten. The tenderest ties between friends are weakened or dissolved, and benevolence itself moves in a very limited sphere.
Okay. What does that mean to you? I wouldn't say it's very romantic.
Well, it is the belief of dear Eliza.
well, I think it sounds like Miss Foster is an individualist, which is a characteristic of romanticism. She doesn't want to conform to society's expectations. She believes that marriage is ruining a lot of lives because you're putting all of your love and attention into someone else.
Interesting. Do you have any more quotes for us today? Anyone a little bit less morbid?
Very well then. They think to enjoy the pleasures which result from this source, while their vanity and ignorance prompt each one to imagine herself superior to delusion, and to anticipate the honor of reclaiming the libertine and reforming the rake. That was the character of Major Sanford.
And what passion that shows. Truly romantic and completely based on the emotions that he has within the story and what he thinks of this woman.
Well, what about the part by who was that evil woman from the story? Right, thank you. Lucy on page 113, I have it here, where she says, to see a woman depart so far from the female character as to assume the masculine habit and attitudes and appear entirely indifferent to the externals of modesty is truly disgusting and ought to be countenance. Right, countenance by our attendants, much less by our approbation. Right, approbation. Now, that's some drama. That is some drama. Honestly, no offense, but if I were in your story, I would have slapped her. Why didn't you write in someone slapping her?
I think it shows Gothic literature within her writing. The isolation of this woman as a character puts her in a place of social injustices and judgment, like someone slapping her.
So I'm not the talky type. It just gets under my skin. Women are disrespect each other. Like, we should all lift each other up, and this world already beating us down because it's ruled by the idiotness of men.
The world is still overtaken by the indecency of men. How awful.
Who are you telling? Alright, folks, it's time for another message from our sponsors. When we get back, we'll be getting a little more romantic.
This taping of Islet is sponsored by Super Summary, the place to find all the superest summaries.
And we're back. When we left off, we were talking about her favorite quotes. Now, your quotes, like we said, didn't sound very romantic, yet it says here you're from the romantic era. Can you further explain how your story qualifies under that title?
Well, the romantic era isn't the type of romantic that we revel in today. It's more about the emotions of the heart beyond love, like fear or guilt or passion.
We romantics tend to be a bit morbid as well.
As I stated earlier, Miss Foster shows a lot of gothic element of isolation, and she also shows individualism in her writing. While she does not agree with the way that society wants her to act, she also writes about passion and love and fear, which are topics that writers became comfortable to talk about during this time period.
So, this romantic era you're talking about, what are the characteristics of it? You have me interested now to understand what I'm living through back home.
So, some of the characteristics are Gothic literature, including isolation, as we talked about earlier. And then there's damsel in distress, kind of like what Eliza's going through in the story. The birth of her stillborn child, the mental torment of losing her suitors, and the ridicule of other women. There's also the supernatural. Individualism, which is what you referred to in the story about marriage, is also another characteristic of romanticism. And also nature as a source of mystery, solace, and or memory.
Interesting. I like it. Anything else?
Oh no, I think she about covered it.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
So, try to keep all that in mind, Miss Foster, if you can. And enjoy your trip back home in the time machine. I'm sure it'll be memorable. And for the rest of you, that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next time on It's Lit.
The characteristics named within It's Lit were given by the nice and amazing and wonderful teacher, Miss Nala Sweet Ann. Thank you very much.
Well, I actually created a time machine by...
Shit. I'm just gonna keep... Okay, can you show...
Gratitude my nose. We'll cut this part out. Okay.
Somewhat... Nope. Oh, as I